Imagine your favorite food is buzzing over an impossibly wide river. You need to cast a wide net, but you can't even make your way across to the other side. For one adroit arachnid, this thought exercise is a reality. She's an impressive architect. Her inventiveness may even be giving humans a few bright ideas to share in her success in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's 30 minutes of interesting animal info for you. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
And today we're talking about a strong, independent woman who was literally a homemaker. But more on that later.
Yeah, awesome. We're talking about the...
Beavers. No, we're not. We're talking about...
There's lots of animals that make their own homes.
Birds.
Beavers, yes. Also, you said that.
Orangutans.
Lots of fish.
But there aren't that many where the female of the species exclusively makes. I'm pretty sure...
I mentioned that most of them do. Since the females are usually the ones that look over the brood, they make the nest.
I guess, yeah. No, because birds do it together.
So I guess some do.
And then I'm pretty sure beavers do that together.
Any animal where the male is just out of there, he doesn't take responsibility for his actions, and there's a nest, then you can safely assure that.
Yeah, I guess any little dug hole is a home.
Yeah, just depends on how much work you put into it.
Yeah.
But the Darwin's bark spider, which is what we're talking about today, puts a lot of work into their home.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to call it the Darwin's bark spider because that's sacrilegious. We're going to call it the web-slinging slasher, which is a...
SpongeBob reference?
SpongeBob reference.
Nice.
The hash-slinging slasher. And Rumpelstiltskin.
I like that one a lot.
But it could also be called Rumpelstiltskin, as we'll get into later. But also, I forgot who came up with this, but the Arachnotect.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome. It's like a, spider architect.
Yeah, that does sound like some sort of character from a video game.
It definitely sounds like a Spider-Man villain. Like, very close to his powers, but also a master engineer instead of a master science man.
Yeah.
But so why is it called the Darwin's bark spider? Well, I can answer that. It was discovered and classified exactly 150 years after the publication of The Origin of the Species. And so it was discovered and classified in 2009. You can do the math, because I'm going to have to do math later anyway, on how when Origin of the Species was published. By none other than Charles Darwin, which is an interesting book, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how this thing is classified. It is in a kingdom you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is the one and only Animalia. The phylum is Arthropoda. We're no longer in the chordata zone because this thing doesn't have a spine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an arthropod. Like lots of things, like crabs, and that's about it. Just kidding. Lots of things are arthropods. Every insect is an arthropod. Spider.
Most things are arthropods, actually, right?
Yeah, most animals are arthropods.
Yeah.
Not most things. Most things are, I guess,
rocks. Minerals.
The subphylum is Chelicerata, which I wish I had opened this show with. Like, hi, I'm Joe. Chelicerata, everyone.
It does sound like a great
Sounds like I'm wishing good health upon you in some language. The class is Arachnida. The order is Araniae. The infraorder is Araniomorphae. Saying a common theme here. It starts with A. The family is Araniidae. And the genus is Carostris. Carostris.
Okay.
I'm going to call it that. Caerostris. And the species is Darwini. Because, once again, you could just slap an I on the end of someone's name and make it the species name.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen that meme where's the flex tape guy?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there's this tape.
You should just, anytime you're about to ask me, have you seen that meme, just assume that the answer is no.
Oh, right. Exactly. I forgot you're out of touch with the common man.
I just enjoy stimulating my brain.
Anyway, Just imagine that.
That
meme.
was a weird thing to say.
Slap. I stimulate my brain with memes. It's great.
Anyway, someone slapping someone.
Andrew, if you're listening to this, make that meme. You know what You know where I'm getting at.
Oh, Andrew's the resident
a memist.
Meme. The meme wizard. The memetect.
Yeah.
All right. So the binomial nomenclature for the Darwin spark spider is Carostris darwini. So where does it live? We'll answer that question too. That
on a web.
That's it. Yeah, it lives in. If you look up Google Maps on a web, it lives there.
Mm-hmm.
But if that web was in Madagascar, you could also find it that way, because that's where it lives. Madagascar, Long Island off Africa's east coast. Much longer than Long Island, in fact.
We'll find out later.
Oh, will we? All right, so let's talk about what this thing looks like, because everyone's like very happy that we've returned to spiders.
Yeah, we've done it several times, and people keep saying that like it makes them upset.
That we just describe them. You don't even have to look at them unless you're looking at Brian's amazing art on ldtaxonomy.com or following us on one of our social media profiles.
Yeah, or listening on Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise you can just click on this on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Overcast, or whatever you're using, and not have to look at a spider.
True.
So what are you creeped out about? Stop it. Let me describe it for you. It really is everything that people hate about spiders, though. It's got a proportionally large body. So, I'm not arachnophobic, but I find the ones with the larger bodies in comparison to their legs to be creepier. The ones with girth, thickness. Like the tiny legs.
As opposed to what? Like a tarantella?
Well, like a... No, those have girth. Like very big leg.
Oh, you mean with
very big
like
body.
Long legs and small bodies,
Yeah,
like daddy long legs?
Yeah, that's not a spider, but there are other spiders.
Well, there are certain spiders that are called daddy long legs, but the one we've talked about,
the harvest
was
man?
not a... Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not as scary. Because it's just legs.
Yeah.
Legs can't hurt you. Unless they're kicking you. But no, so the Darwin spark spider has a big body in comparison to its leg. It's got a wide head that's attached to the front. It has characteristic 8 legs sticking out, and they're covered with hair. But not hair like you and me. We've already talked about this. Only mammals have hair. Keratinous hair.
Yeah.
They have chitinous hair.
Yeah, like bees.
Setae. Or setae. Setae.
And moths.
Yeah. Any insect that looks like it's hairy is probably covered in chitin.
Yep.
Which is the same thing that crab shells are made out of. The first segment, or the femora of each leg, closes the body, is naked and brown, like me when I came into this world.
Yeah.
They have large... so their bodies are kind of like tarantulas, although not quite as defined. And everybody loves tarantulas.
Tarantulas.
Said the wet bandits. Their abdomens usually have a brown pattern on them, kind of like a brown recluse. So it's kind of this cool brown pattern. But that pattern is broken up with 2 white spots to simulate eyes, which is probably giving predators the impression that they are bigger or more threatening than they actually are, like butterflies do. Plus,
to a human eye, it looks like it has a creepy little smile. I don't know if other insects would even notice that, but humans are very good at seeing faces, so it looks like a little creepy face to me.
True, we talked about that in the samurai ghost crab.
Yeah.
One, which I don't know where we landed on, whether unnatural selection had.
Oh, I said it was real ghosts.
Oh, okay. We landed on real samurai ghosts for the crab. Got it. I just walked right over my own segment.
Oh, yeah.
Critter groups.
Yeah.
I gotta see. It's way down here on my notes. I gotta put it way up closer to where we're naming things, because while we're in the business of naming things, we might as well name what the collective noun for this thing is, otherwise known as the just a name for the group of them. So I, Carlos, ask you, Joe, question, which is always the same, which is, what is the name of the collective noun for this animal? Since we're talking about spiders, not necessarily just the Darwin spark spider, so it'll just be for spiders in general. So, is a group of spiders called A cluster, B, a nest, C, a pattering, or D, a colony?
What was the first one?
Cluster.
Oh, a cluster, a patterning, a colony.
Cluster, nest, patterning,
Nest,
and
okay.
colony.
Cluster.
Ugh.
Yep. I'm going to go with cluster.
Final answer?
Yeah.
You are correct.
All right.
All right.
I could not, remember
Now see here.
what
see?
spiders are called.
Um,
A nest sounded like it couldn't be. That's where they live. That's not what they are.
I mean, it's just the names can be really weird, like a murder of crows. Like a murder of that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's when it starts to make sense for something else that I'm like, well, it can't be that. Yeah, I guess it
could be a murder of
that's
literally
why,
any
that's
animal.
why I say this segment is a crapshoot. Like it could be anything. Like there's no rhyme or reason to this.
That's why I like it. All right, so let's get back to the description where we left off. So like most spiders, not only do they have 8 legs, they also have 8 eyes. But what's important is I said most, because I thought previously that all spiders have 8 eyes, and they don't all have them. They all have 8 legs,
Yeah.
but not eyes. And it's really weird because most, if not all animals, have no eyes or 2 eyes. It's usually one of those 2 things. I can't actually right now think of any animal that has anything other than those 2 options.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird that this thing has 8. Just quadruples the ante. So
The rainbow shrimp, what's it called? Not rainbow
the
shrimp.
mantis shrimp?
Mantis shrimp. Yeah.
That has 2 eyes.
It has 2 eyes, but it has like 6 lenses, right?
It has trinocular vision. And
Go listen to that episode to hear about some interesting eyes.
yeah, those are some interesting eyes, and it's kind of the inspiration for our logo.
Yeah.
So spiders have 4 pairs of eyes, and they have a principal pair in the middle for picking out details, for being able to focus. So they have color vision in those eyes, and they can see UV light, very similar to the mantis shrimp.
So the principal pair is responsible for wrangling all the smaller ones.
Yeah, it's the principal and the vice principal. They're the principal pair.
Gotcha.
All the secondary eyes, they detect motion, which is interesting because they with their principal pair temporarily blinded, they can still detect things coming at them and react to it. But they may not be able to tell what it is. They just know that it's moving and moving toward them. They can tell it's picture.
That is difficult to imagine.
That you can imagine something moving, but not imagine.
No, I guess
be able to
I
see
can
what
imagine
it is.
that. Like when something moves in the corner of your eye and you're like, what? You don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
you react to it.
Yeah, you didn't pick out any details. You just know that something was moving.
Yeah. Or like when somebody throws something at you, you don't know, like, well, that's a Pez dispenser. You're like, that's just a blur.
Did you just see Ant-Man and Wasp or something like that? That's exactly what happens in that movie.
Well, that's a giant one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they definitely saw that it was a Pez dispenser. But then also by blinding the secondary eyes and only having the principal pair unblinded, by simulating something coming at them, they didn't react to it. They didn't.
Interesting.
Otherwise, they would move away or get into a defensive stance. But they didn't do that with their movement eyes.
I'm gonna bite you, you Pez dispenser. Get out of here.
That's their only recourse, though. I want to bite. Whatever it is, I'm gonna bite it.
Yeah, or run away.
So it's like the difference between examining the stitching on a baseball and ducking as it flies overhead. Also, lastly, spiders' legs are powered hydraulically, as we've mentioned, I think, in another spider episode. There's fluid that's pushed from the body into the legs, which increases the pressure and extends it outward. So if the pressure is like at 30%, the leg might be partially brought out, and then it brings it down to 0, and as it pulls its leg back in, and then it goes up to 30. But if it needs to bring it all the way out, then it may go to 100% pressure by moving the fluid in its body. That's why when a spider dies, all the fluid goes into its body and its legs shrivel up because there's nothing to push them in or out. They have no muscles.
Interesting. Okay. That's why when I smack a spider in the car and it disappears and I freak out, it's just because it rolled up into a tiny little ball and rolled away.
No, it's actually because it's retreating and plotting its
super
revenge.
Fast and like getting its friends, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely
it stopped time and is now crawling on my neck, right? Exactly.
Yes, it's attached itself to the tag inside your clothes and is going to wait till you're asleep. Everyone who is an actual arachnophobe is going to have a really hard time.
Everyone's feeling a little itchy right now.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just that there's a heavy sexual dimorphism between females and males. Females are 14 times heavier and 4 times longer than males. There's a major difference between the blokes and the shelobs. If you've ever been to Outback Steakhouse, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And if you've watched Lord of the Rings.
You need to do both.
Yeah, I mean, you should do both.
At the same time, preferably.
Yeah.
I would really enjoy my Outback experience if they were playing Lord of the Rings. But anyway, that's all I've got.
So, well, since you were talking about giants and giant females and small males, that brings us to size comparison, which means welcome to the listener's favorite part of the show until empirical evidence shows otherwise. The part of the show where I pose quiz questions to Carlos to convey the animal's size and dimensions in relatable terms. Welcome back to the season of woe. The season in which the questions are harder and more relatable than ever. It's also the part of the show that's introduced by either a listener or an animal. If you would like to submit your own Measure Up intro, just say, sing, or bark the words Measure Up into your phone's recording app and email it to ldtaxonomy.com or ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Today we have a new submission from Elora, who's submitted before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elora.
For being a repeat sender. But more specifically, this Measure Up is a dog she knows. I assume it's her dog, but it could be a friend's dog.
Actually, I'm pretty sure this is her impersonating a dog.
You think so? You heard it like... So it's either her doing a dog impression or a dog she knows and is friends with, and she's trusted to, submit a Measure Up on her behalf. Or that trusts her to submit a Measure Up.
Yeah, the dog trusts her for sure.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. It was excellent, I think. If it's an impression, it's a good impression.
It definitely fooled you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's an impression.
Well, when I first heard it, I was like not sure. I was like, that kind of sounds like a person doing a dog, but I could see a world where a dog sounds like that.
I dream of a world where dogs sound like that. It's a nice dream.
Yeah. It's the quintessential dog.
Yeah, that is archetype of a dog bark.
The Arachnotect of a dog.
The Paragon pup.
Let's jump right in to body length. Females, like you said, are much larger. Males are around 6 millimeters or 0.2 inches. And females are around 8 to 22 millimeters or 0.7 to 0.9 inches. Let's call that 20 millimeters. How many female DB spiders go into the length of Madagascar?
What is 20 millimeters in inches?
In what? Oh, let me look that up for you.
It's probably like 0.7 or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's 8.
0.8?
It would have to be 0.8 because it's 0. The difference between 0.7 and 0.9.
Oh, yeah. Okay, 0.8 to the length of Madagascar.
It's 0.78.
Still closer to 8. But kind of close to 3/4. So, I'm going to say it's 1,000 miles long because it's a good strong number. And, I mean, if it was in inches, that would be... Well, 1,000 miles would be 5,180,000 feet times 12, which is 60... I guess it would be 72 million-ish. Inches, but it's not a full inch. It's a little over 3/4 of an inch, so we're going to add some cheddar onto that. We'll increase it by, like 25%. which I would say would be about 90 million. I'm going to say 90 million female Darwin's bark spiders, end to end, can extend the length of the north-south length of Madagascar.
The correct answer, well, you were close.
I was?
Yeah. You guessed 1,000. Well, yeah, it's like 995 miles.
No way.
Yeah, so the answer, if you calculate it by inches, then it was 72,000 or 72 million. And then it's
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah. 72 million. But it's but if you do it by the actual, by the millimeter, it's 80 million.
That's the final answer?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
I don't know how there's this disparity between. I guess you just lose a lot by rounding.
Yeah, when there's 10 numbers afterwards.
Yeah.
Still, I'm proud of myself for that one.
That was pretty close.
Bring it on. What's the next one?
Leg length.
I want 6 questions like this.
Fully
8 actually, because it's a spider.
Fully extended, blood-filled legs.
Yummy.
The first leg meaning the one I think closest to the head, of a female is 35 millimeters or 1.7 inches long. How many female DB spiders' first legs go into the first leg of what most experts agree is the hardest track and field relay event? I forgot to give you a hint, by the way, to the other one.
I didn't need it. Clearly, I never need it.
Madagascar is the 4th largest island in the world.
However, they decide on islands.
Yeah. What an island is.
Yeah, because South America's also an island.
Technically.
And so is Africa.
Well, it is now because of the Panama Canal.
And the Suez Canal.
So, here's a hint. The world record holding team for this event are Americans, like us. Andrew Valman, Quincy Watts, Butch Reynolds, and Michael Johnson, the former quote-unquote fastest man alive. And they finished it in 2 minutes and 54 seconds and 29 nanoseconds.
Butch Reynolds sounds like an ace combat pilot.
It's funny, I guess Usain Bolt is the fastest man at that distance. I guess he runs the fastest speed. He can reach the toppest.
Yeah, he can reach the
toppest speeds.
As top as it gets, really.
But Michael Johnson still has the record in this and the solo version of this relay.
And you said this is the longest relay?
No, it's the hardest relay.
Hardest relay. Because I feel like you could put a relay on the other side of a mountain and make it pretty hard.
Yeah. I guess. But it's the hardest track and field event.
Right. So that would mean that it's just a matter of meters.
Well, yeah, everything is. There are miles long ones. But
relays?
I think so. Maybe not. Well, maybe altogether a mile.
How could it possibly be? The only way to make something harder is to make it longer.
There are Olympic events that take forever because it's long distance. I'm not sure. I don't know what the longest relay is.
I feel like the only way to... Oh, I guess relays include hurdles sometimes, don't they?
Yeah.
That makes it pretty hard. I'm going to say 300 meters because that's a little bit more than a football field. That seems like a long way to run. And it's only one leg of it.
Mm-hmm. The first leg.
So, and this is 1.7 inches, you said?
1.2, 1.4.
1.4. Basically 1.5. I did so well in the first one that all my math is gone. I used it up.
Well, okay.
It's like mana. I'm losing my grip here on my arithmetic. 300 yards. This is an inch and a half.
You're doing a lot of conversions is the issue.
Right. And so 3 goes into 36 12 times, which means you need to multiply by 2 to get to the 1.5. So you have 24 of those go into a yard. We have 300 yards. So 24 times 100 is 2,400 times 3 to get to the 300 yards. We're looking at 7,600 spiders.
Yeah. It was 7,714.
Okay.
But the correct answer is 11,248. Because
How long is
It's 400 meters.
100 meters.
Well, you said
I said yards, yeah.
So it's a little different.
That was bad. The first one was much better.
Yeah.
It wasn't even fun to listen to,
Your
I'm
math
sure.
was, not bad.
I didn't like it, though.
Okie dokie. Let's talk. Are you ready for the majors to facts in this episode?
So ready.
Okay, here's the majors to facts in this episode. And it's a good one, I think. Darwin's bark spider has one of the strongest and most impressive webs in spiderdom.
Which is the worst kingdom. There's Kingdom Animalia that you like, know, and love. And then there's Spiderdom, the place of nightmares and weeping and gnashing of teeth.
It's the toughest biological material ever discovered. Does that mean it's some kind of real-life vibranium? No. But it pound for pound, it beats the rest. DBS, Darwin's bark is worse than his bite spiders. Their webs are 10 times stronger than a piece of Kevlar that's around the same size. Kevlar's pretty strong. It stops bullets. So the silk that these guys make is 520 megajoules per meter squared. And I know that
I love megajoules.
That immediately conjures up an amazing image in your mind.
I do have.
You know exactly what that means.
I have a chart of megajoules in my head at all times.
But in case you don't, here's a little comparison that could help you imagine it. High tensile steel is about 6 megajoules per meter squared. That's 6 versus 520.
That's pathetic.
Carbon fiber is 25, and Kevlar is 40.
This is all paltry.
Yeah.
What are we even doing?
By comparison, humans are terrible at spinning webs.
That's unless it's webs of lies.
But why does it need to be so strong? It seems like overkill. Darwin bark spiders build large webs that can span distances of up to 82 feet with its bridge line. So not the whole web, just the line that it's on. It's connected to. Mm-hmm. It likes to stretch across water to catch mayflies and other insects that like to congregate above water and on the surface of water. So to get the line across the water, they anchor it at one end of the line on a branch or another high point, and then they let the air carry it to the other side and stick on some other anchor point, like Spider-Man shooting web.
Except they're just hoping, kind of. They're like, catch on something, please.
Yeah. Well, you're on, there's always going to be something. Maybe even the ground, but something. Preferably a plant or something high up.
Or more water.
Yeah, no, that would be bad. So they don't send it out in one strand like Spider-Man, though. She sends several out at once that splay out until she periodically winches it with this little butt pincher. To keep it from spreading out too far.
Spinneret.
Yeah,
that would be the term.
I guess you could call it that. Once it's anchored to the other side, she pulls it taut and walks out to build her orb, which is what webs of that kind are like.
That's the one that says radiant pig.
Yeah, that's the Charlotte Web type of. That's what it's called.
That's what you would call the web, probably.
Yeah, an orb. To do this, she releases huge amounts of silk for her relative size. And you know how they do that? No, because no one does. It's a mystery how one small spider can spray that much webbing all at once.
It's like more than their body size, their mass.
Right.
They must be like
making it as they go.
Manufacturing something.
Out of hopes and dreams.
Out of the air.
Not only are Darwin bark spiders' webs the longest spanning, they're also the largest orb. Orbs can be as large as 30 square feet and stretch 3 feet across. So to hang such a large web on a super long line that's cast across a river on the wind, the silk has to both be really strong and really light, which is why it's so strong for its relative size.
So do we have like mithril shirts of this stuff?
I'm glad you asked. That might be on the way.
I'm afraid that I asked.
The ethereal they, scientists, and you can Google this to find out who they is.
The Illuminati.
They're using spider silk to make tough materials to help protect soldiers, and they're doing it in a way that is super bonkers and roundabout. But apparently it works. So they took spider silk, producing genes, and put them into goats. Obviously.
That's my first go-to.
And then goatee. And then goats produce milk that's rich in these spider silk proteins. And then the proteins were spun into a thread that was infused into a type of skin that was grown in a petri dish. So they took the spider silk that they made from the goat's milk. This sounds like a weird nursery rhyme. And then they infused it into this skin that they grew.
Perhaps she'll die.
Yeah, perhaps we won't when we're shot, because the skin was able to absorb the energy from a bullet without breaking.
I want to see this. I want to see a slow-mo video of this.
You absolutely can. Look it up on, Google this, and there's YouTube videos. Scientists from Max Planck Institute of Microstructure Physics in Halle, Germany, have also used a technique called atomic layer disposition to infuse spider silk with metal. This process has made a material that's 3 times stronger than the original spider silk. And it dwarfs the 520 megajoules per meter squared that we talked about the natural spiders make.
So you could just drive a truck over this stuff.
You could drive a truck over regular spider silks. It would just be on the ground.
You just need a lot of it.
So it could have applications as super strong and light armor. It could also be made into medical, replacement bones and tendons. You could 3D print with this spider silk a new femur or something.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. Your femur would be way, way, way stronger than the rest of your bones.
You block all attacks with your femur.
Yeah.
Indestructible spider silk femur.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, that is. They should call it something else. The Kevlar spider or something like that. I don't know.
But it makes Kevlar look like a chump.
I know, but that's why it would be cool. It'd be better than the Darwin's bark spider.
Yeah.
It doesn't bark.
Yeah.
It doesn't... I mean, I guess it kind of looks like bark. Maybe they named it before they knew how strong its
maybe it
spider silk was.
Does something lives around bark when it's not in its web or something.
That's just the most boring way to name an animal.
Yeah.
But so that's all you got?
It also doesn't have anything to do with Darwin. He doesn't.
The people who discovered it just liked him.
Yeah.
So great, I guess. But for you out there in Podcastia, keep your eyes on a swivel and weave a strong web like the Darwin's bark spider in life, death, and taxonomy.
Howdy, LDT listeners. Welcome to the end of the episode. You know what else is a super strong web? Our network of friends and supporters that have left reviews and sent in measure-ups over these 87 episodes. If you'd like to join our web, just leave a review on your favorite podcast app and send in your own measure-up intro to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
We're not talking
Maybe
about Rip Van
1700s.
Winkle anyway. I said Rumpelstiltskin. So, but we're also
So off the beaten trail.
right out of the gate.
Don't take any sarsaparilla from some strange men, or you'll fall asleep on this trail.